Good morning, dear students. Welcome back. Today we are going to study a poem written by Robin Klein, and the name of the poem is Amanda. In this poem, Robin Klein has expressed the views of a little girl, Amanda, who is constantly pointed out by her mother for making mistakes. Mistakes which she considers so, as they are not part of the code of good conduct laid out by the society in which we live. Before we read the poem and understand it, let's look at the author. Robin McMurphy Klein is a well-known Australian author of books for children. She was born on 28th February 1936 in Campsie, New South Wales, and now she resides near Melbourne. Amanda is a poem that records a child's dream of freedom as she is being conditioned on doing things and living life in all probability by a nagging parent. Now let's read the text and understand it. Let's find out what is there for each one of us. Amanda, stanza 1. Don't bite your nails, Amanda. Don't hunch your shoulders, Amanda. Stop that slouching and sit up straight, Amanda. There is a languid emerald sea where the sole inhabitant is me, a mermaid drifting blissfully. In these lines, one of the parents sees Amanda biting her nails. The parent tells Amanda not to bite her nails. She is also not to bend her shoulders and to sit up straight. The parent nags Amanda for sitting lazily with her shoulders bent into a stoop. But Amanda is lost in her own dreams. She imagines herself to be a mermaid drifting joyfully with the soft waves of the green sea. She imagines that she is the sole inhabitant of the beautiful sea and there is no one to nag or disturb her. Stanza 2. Did you finish your homework, Amanda? Did you tidy your room, Amanda? I thought I told you to clean your shoes, Amanda. I am an orphan roaming the street. I pattern soft dust with my hushed bare feet. The silence is golden, the freedom is sweet. In these lines, the parent asks Amanda if she has finished her homework. She is asked if she has tidied her room. She had been asked to clean her shoes also. The parent asks her if she has done that. But Amanda is lost in her own thoughts. Now she imagines herself to be an orphan with no parents to nag her. She feels happy in being an orphan. She imagines that she is roaming in the street with bare feet. She is making soft patterns as she puts her feet gently in the dust. There is all silence about her with no one to nag her. For the little girl, this silence is golden and this freedom is so sweet. Stanza 3. Don't eat that chocolate, Amanda. Remember your agony, Amanda. Will you please look at me when I'm speaking to you, Amanda? I am Rapunzel. I have not a care. Life in a tower is tranquil and rare. I'll certainly never let down my bright hair. In these lines, the parent sees Amanda eating a chocolate and tells her not to eat it. The parent says that Amanda must not have forgotten the agony that she had got previously. However, Amanda is lost in her own dreams and doesn't look up to the parent. At this, the parent feels irritated. He says that Amanda should at least look at him when he's speaking to her. But Amanda remains lost in her dreams. She imagines herself to be golden-haired Rapunzel, who lived in a castle and had no care. Amanda imagines that life for Rapunzel must have been very peaceful and wonderful in the tower. However, she says that she won't let down her bright hair the way Rapunzel had done. All the troubles of Rapunzel, as we know, had started because of her doing so. Stanza 4. Stop that sulking at once, Amanda. You're always so moody, Amanda. Anyone would think that I nagged at you, Amanda. In these lines, the parent keeps talking to Amanda about the various do's and don'ts. But Amanda remains lost in her own dreams. The parent thinks that Amanda is not responding because she is angry. He feels annoyed and asks Amanda to stop sulking at once. He says that it has become a habit with Amanda to remain irritated always. On seeing her, one would say that the parent has nagged at her, and that is why Amanda is looking gloomy. The parent doesn't want Amanda to give others such an impression. Now let's look at the theme of the poem. In this poem, Robin Klein wants to make us clear that every child should be given freedom to enjoy his childhood. Unnecessary parental restriction may affect the growth of child adversely. He has proved the fact by giving an example of a young girl, Amanda. She is tired of her mother's instructions and controls. She is sad. Resultantly, Amanda has become moody and sulking natured. I hope you all understood the poem well. Now, let's look at the new words. Hunch. It means bend. Slouching means to sit in a lazy way. Languid means relaxed. Emerald is green color. Inhabitant means resident. Drifting means carried slowly by the water. Blissfully is happily. Acne means pimples. Rapunzel is a girl in the fairy tale by Brothers Grimm. Tranquil means calm, quiet. And rare means uncommon. Now, let's look at the poetic devices used in stanza 1. In stanza 1, there is use of anaphora. Anaphora means repeated use of a word at a start of 2 or more lines. So we have don't bite and don't hunch. It's an example of anaphora. We can also see use of vowel sound O, which means assonance has also been used. An example of assonance is don't hunch your shoulders. If we look at the rhyme scheme of stanza 1, it's AABACCC because Amanda has been used 3 times. And if you look see, me and blissfully, they are rhyming with each other. So the rhyme scheme is A, B, A, C, C, C. We can also see use of metaphor. Use of word emerald, C for green color of sea being similar to the color of emerald, and that's an example of metaphor. Then Amanda word has been repeated number of times, so it's an example of repetition. Drifting blissfully is an example of visual imagery. Then we also find an example of alliteration. Stop that slouting and sit up straight. S sound is being repeated at the start of closely placed words. And we also find an example of allusion, which means the reference taken from some mythology or history or any background. Mermaid is an example of allusion. It's a well-known imaginary creature. So this is an example of allusion. I hope you all understood the poetic devices used in stanza 1. Now let's look at the poetic devices used in stanza 2. Again we can see use of anaphora. Did you finish? Did you tidy? It's an example of anaphora from stanza 2. If we look at the rhyme scheme, it's A-A-D-A, E-E-E, because street, feet and sweet are rhyming with each other. So we have this triplet here. And then we can also see use of assonance, as vowel sound O has been repeated. Thought, told, you, your, shoes. Again, Amanda word has been repeated number of times in stanza 2. It's an example of repetition. Again, we can see use of metaphor. When the poet says silence is golden, silence is said to be glorious like golden color. Freedom is sweet. Freedom is said to be sweet in taste. So these are some of the poetic devices used in stanza 2. I hope you all understood the devices used in stanza 2. Now let's look at the poetic devices used in stanza 3. Again we can see use of allusion, as the poet refers to the character Rapunzel, famous fairy tale character Rapunzel. So it's an example of allusion. If we look at the rhyme scheme used in stanza 3, it's A-A-F-A-G-G-G. Again, we can see care, rare and hair are rhyming with each other. And the last word of the first line is rhyming with the last word of the second line and the last word of the fourth line. So it's A-A-F-A-G-G-G. We also find use of vowel sound E and O, which is an example of assonance. Will you please look at me when I'm speaking to you? This is an example of assonance from stanza 3. Then we can also find the use of consonants, as use of sound R. I'm Rapunzel. I have not a care, bright hair. And in addition to this, again, Amanda word has been repeated number of times. So again, the use of repetition is there in stanza 3. Now, let's look at the poetic devices used in stanza 4. Alliteration. Again, in this stanza also we can see that S sound is repeated at the start of closely placed words in the line stop that sulking. which is an example of alliteration. We also find the use of word Amanda again here, which is an example of repetition. If we look at the rhyme scheme used in stanza 4, it's A-A-H-A. Now why it's A-A-H-A? Because you can see that Amanda word has been used 3 times. The last word of the first line is Amanda, and the last word of the second and the fourth line is also Amanda. So the rhyme scheme is A-A-H-A. Now, let's summarize the poem. The poem describes a girl named Amanda and her mother who is nagging her for her mistakes. She is first pointed out, most probably by her mother, for biting her nails and for not sitting in the right posture. The mother also feels that Amanda sits in a very lazy manner. To this, Amanda imagines herself as a mermaid who lives a calm and relaxing life in the beautiful green sea. Further, she is nagged for not cleaning her room and shoes, and also for not doing her homework. She then imagines herself to be an orphan because she is now fed up of being watched by her parents continuously. She says that she would have enjoyed her freedom then by making the patterns of her bare feet on the sand and would live a peaceful life. Next, Amanda is scolded for eating chocolates, as this caused pimples. She is also scolded for not listening to her mother. So, now Amanda thinks of being Rapunzel, a character from a fairy tale, and wants to live in a huge tower like her. In the tower, she will be alone and will live a peaceful life and will never allow anyone to come in. Finally, the mother asks her to stop being moody because she doesn't want anyone to blame her for harassing her daughter. At this time, the poet has not written any reaction from Amanda's side. So this constant nagging actually disturbs the little girl, right? And that is why she couldn't stop herself from imagining the various characters. So that was all for this poem, Amanda. I hope you all understood the text well. Read the text, and in case you have any doubt, feel free to ask anytime. Take good care of yourself. Thank you so much for listening.